Hey, welcome back to Classics Are Better, everybody. I'm Travis, and today we're back working on my 1966 C10 I call Bandit. Got the 5.3 LS and the 4L60 in the last video. Now it's time to start hooking up all the wiring and the doodads and the hoses and put the intake back on and all kinds of good stuff. I'll start chipping away at it. Howdy, howdy, my friends. So welcome to a warm Texas afternoon. So if I'm looking a little juicy, it is a 96 in my shop right now. So I'm just trying to make some progress, guys. So this weekend, I am going to hopefully get these hard lines out here for the Tranny cooler lines. My new radiator is a little bit different setup than the stock one. So I switched to all black braided nylon lines. I'm going to all AN fittings just so everything's nice and super clean. I'm going to paint the coil pack brackets just to kind of match my truck look. I'm going for a little bit better with the dark gray and patina. I got a low car shifter kit or shift rod kit, so hopefully I can keep the column shift on this truck if possible with that 4L60. I got a little heater hose, like bypass hose, just to try and help with the AC delete, kind of lets everything circulate up back around. This is going to be the biggest booger, my friends. So I got an aftermarket cheapo wiring harness for this thing, so wish me luck getting that figured out and on. Got some MSD spark plug wires off in a box over there. Got some headers here to put on. Got to get the intake back on, so just gonna start chipping away at this thing and hopefully make some progress. Let's get after it. All right, got the old Tranny cooler lines out. Parts, guys, this is what I'm using to convert the transmission cooler lines to AN lines. It's just a little adapter where you go into the Tranny on this side and a 6 AN line on this side. It is from Summit Racing, and it's ICT billet, 6 AN transmission fitting, 551114. all right, so I got the adapters in to make AN lines fit into my 4L60E there, and got the original lines pulled out. Right now I'm getting this all kind of cleaned back up. I decided I'm going to go ahead and paint these pulleys with the same VHT engine enamel paint that I did on the valve covers here, just so it looks a little bit fresher since they're right here to be able to do it anyway. Getting a little bit later, but I'm still making progress. I just finished painting all the pulleys here black. Now I am going to paint the water pump and the accessory drive here with some of this duplicolor cast iron style paint. I did a couple test shots right here so you can see it's really not that different from what's on their stock, but it's just gonna clean everything up. A good little tech tip is to use foil if you don't want to use just rolls and rolls of tape when you're taping stuff up to paint. Okay, y'all, so I got everything painted. I went back and ended up painting the alternator, so I decided it looked better as a complete package. All right, I am making some progress, y'all. I got most of the existing wiring harness and stuff taken off of the firewall, and then I ripped out a lot of this kind of carpet insulation stuff that was all up in there around it. So I'm gonna try and start cleaning and get some kind of Dynamat or equivalent type thing to go up in there. So now it's clear enough that I can start putting my wiring harness through, and we'll go from there. I'll get the rest of this sorted later. So I got most of the new wiring harness pulled through the firewall here, kind of getting it positioned which way it goes, that kind of thing. I have the memory of a goldfish, so I got me a little cheat sheet out here or whatever. But time to start kind of getting stuff plugged in a little bit, and then I'll get the intake on, plug some more in, and we'll just take it one thing at a time. All right, so I got most of the wiring harness installed here, or at least everything I can do with what's on the motor right now. So starters in, cranks, sensors attached, NOx sensor, camshaft sensor. Turns out the oil pressure sensor here that I replaced, that's actually a standalone thing that doesn't go in the harness, so learn that, that's new. Anyway, the only things I have left really to do is we'll hook the transmission up, but I'll do that later. I need to get the intake on here, get that going, and then I also painted my these are coil packs, so I painted the coil brackets that these things ride on, the same cast iron color that I did all of this stuff, so just trying to make it match up a little bit or whatever. But time to get this intake onto this motor and start getting everything hooked up, y'all. So make sure when you do this that you have double check for anything that you have stuffed in here to keep debris and stuff out. So like, I need to get all these paper towels out, and you do not want to suck stuff through your motor. It's almost midnight. It's hot as hell in here, but I'm making some progress this evening. Check it out. So it actually looks like a motor again. Got all the coil packs on, got the manifold on, most of the wiring's hooked up. I still got to do the tranny and the fuel injectors, but all the other stuff's hooked up except for the MAF here. I'm gonna take this off and probably paint this too, but made a lot of progress today, guys. Getting closer. All right, y'all, so it is the next day and it is a toasty one, guys. So it is literally 100 degrees in my shop right now. So if you see me getting juicy, that's why. So one little issue I did run into that turned into a learning moment for me was when I was doing the wiring here. These are the little offshoots for the injectors. This has what would be called like a Multi-Tech 2 or a mini Delphi connector on here if you see it. This is what would work in most 03 Suburbans like I got. Well, it turns out because mine is actually a flex fuel model, it has an EV6 fuel injector plug right here, so I need to have an adapter or cut these off. I was gonna go ahead and snip the ones off the Suburban since obviously I have these little adapters and just have to splice it into the whole thing all the way around so I could clip it in there. But I looked on Amazon real quick and they literally sell an adapter for $15 that does all of them. So I'm just going that route. Should be in the mail, get here tomorrow. All right, so while I'm waiting on those injector adapters in the mail, I'm gonna go ahead and keep on doing stuff. I did notice my MAF just looks kind of like trash compared to everything else being nice and painted, so I'm gonna take this off and give it a little rattle can magic and get it to match real fast. Y'all, so it has been like 2 hours since I've had the camera on. I have been on the Google and I have been poking and prodding this thing because look at this mess that I am dealing with. So this is most of my new LS wire harness that I got, the aftermarket. You can see it kind of goes through right here, and I'll have this grommet set in back in the back. This is the existing wiring harness that was in the truck for the small block slash the truck overall. It is a hot wires or hot rod wires, something like that kit from probably 2010. I don't know, something like that, 2009 maybe. It has been a minute since this has been put in. I suck at wiring, and this is a lot of wiring, so I am learning as I go. If you feel like it is super scary and you're like, oh my gosh, what to do, you can always hire somebody to do this part, but guess what? This is how you learn how to do it. Like, I learned by doing. This is a mess, but I'll get it figured out. Probably not today, but I will get it figured out. Nothing, a little bit of research and just going through it can't solve. So don't get discouraged on stuff like this. I mean, it does suck. That's a rat's nest maze to go through, but we'll get it done. Stay positive, right? All right, so all the fun I'm having now is right down here. So I relocated the original fuse box and all that kind of stuff up over here, kind of up under the dash, just because it was skinny enough to fit under there. And then I am going to relocate behind all of this wiring spaghetti my PCM up here somewhere, and then some of this stuff for like hot power, fuel pump, etc. And this one ground, and this like my OBD2. Kind of get this all over here. So I'm either going to try and tuck it up behind the vent, which is kind of in the way with the handle and all this, and I'm not really going to use it, so I might just delete this vent, and that way I have a ton of space up there in that corner just to tuck everything up there as high as I can so you don't really see it. So kind of going over a few different ideas on that. Another fun problem is here is my drive-by-wire gas pedal for my 03 Suburban. Got this cool little adapter on it, so it will screw right in here since it's flat on the back, and the back of the truck is kind of a wave. But you can see it puts the gas pedal like really close to the brake pedal. It's not really showing up on the video as much, but it is super close and very awkward. So I'm going to trim this thing up, customize it a little bit so I can get the pedal over. That'll either be later in this video or probably in a different one. We'll just have to see how it pans out. Alright, y'all, so I got most of the wiring harness all hooked in and taped up. Again, I am just using some of these adapters to go from the mini Delphi connectors to the EV6 because this ended up being a flex fuel motor. But you just plug it in here, plug the other end in the wiring harness. It's good to go. Alright, good news, y'all. I got most of the wiring harness all hooked up and mostly cleaned up to kind of where it's going to go or whatever. So I got all those adapters in, everything electrical taped and cleaned up, etc. The only thing really left is the plug for the cold air intake. But now it is finally time to do fun stuff, y'all. So check it out. I got some Speed Engineering short length headers. They are made for a C10 LS swap, and they all the welds look pretty darn good, y'all. So I am excited to get these on. I'm getting this thing closer to done. All right, new plug wires and headers are installed. Things starting to come together. Dipstick in. I got the belt back on the front here. I got the alternator all wired up. I did take this fender off just so it'd be easier for me to change out the steering stuff. I'm gonna put on a new steering box right here, so that'll probably be a different video. And I'm gonna change this to AN fitting lines to adapt it to my power steering reservoir on the LS. So I got the fender back on. I got the new power steering lines in, so I did do the braided AN line, or braided line going into AN fittings for the pressure side, and then on the other side is just a normal hose. But it is time to get the front end back on this thing, start making it a real truck again. Got the front of the truck on. Everything went pretty well on my gaps and stuff are nice. The only one that was not so fun was this one right here, was a little off, but everything else lines up, so it's just a little wonky. Maybe I'll address it in the future. I also got some rubber on the custom radiator mount I put down here, so it'll sit on that and then bolt in here on the top. Got the battery tray painted up and back inside, so now it's time to move on to the radiator. I also got the AN line adapters onto it, so that I can run AN tranny cooler lines to the 4L60E. Moving right along. Alright, so I got the radiator in there. I think it's looking pretty good. I ended up having to just buy a whole bunch of hoses at the store, and this was the one that ended up working for me. I took the others back because they ain't cheap. This one was a hose I had saved from the small block that I just hacked up, and it happened to kind of fit with the right contour. The issue I kind of end up having with this being so close to the block, luckily it's not touching or whatever, so you know, that was still good. But having my cold air intake coming over here, there's just not a lot of room right here for the pipe to go through, and I could have, you know, moved the alternator and all that stuff, but I ended up just rigging stuff up to kind of get a shorty going here. So instead of being cold air, I guess it'll be coolish air, because the fan is right here and it's like 1500 CFM, so obviously it'll heat up some being in there and suck it through the radiator, but is what it is right now. So I'll see how that works out. If it doesn't work good, I'll rig something up coming over here. But you can see I was just trying a hodgepodge of different stuff to get this to work. And the only issue I run into right now is this is the wire connector from my wire harness that I bought to plug into the MAF right here. Well, this is the one out of the burb, and this one was having issues plugging in, and it turns out, if you can see, it's the right plug, but this one has this little cutaway right here. So I'm gonna try and get my Dremel out and shape this a little bit, because it's actually hitting on this. If not, I'll splice this thing in, but since this is the right plug, I'm gonna see if I can just chop that down a little bit real quick. But it just goes to show you, sometimes even when you get a wire kit, you still have to modify stuff just ever so slightly to kind of fit whatever donor your stuff came out of. All right, it worked. Yay, Dremel. All right, so let's do a little update. I've been making some progress on this thing. Got all the vacuum lines tucked away, got a lot of the wire loom put up and tucked away. Got some custom battery cables made and installed. Got new grounds put in everywhere. Over on this side, I got all the new power steering and everything in. I have not bled it yet. I still need to bleed the system. Good news is I also got my low car shift linkage put in, and I got all the gears. So that is nice that I was able to keep my original steering column and shifter and all that kind of stuff instead of having to go with a floor shifter. In the back, I got the fuel pump in. So I got a Holley inline fuel pump that one of my buddies gave me. Thank you, Dean. And then I put on a Wix fuel filter, so I put this all down here just so if one of these, you know, if that gets clogged up or that goes out, something like that, it's easy to service without having to take the whole bed off the truck. And then here on the inside, I've tamed a little bit of the spaghetti. I know where a lot of it goes now anyway. And then I did do a custom job basically on the Suburban drive-by-wire gas pedal. So I have my own video on that if you guys have seen that. It seems like it's going to work out. We'll see once this thing's running if I get any kind of foot fatigue. If I do, then I'll just buy an aftermarket one. But That was super cheap and did not take that long to do, so hopefully it works out because it's kind of trick. Making progress. Got the drive shaft officially in. It's reasonably centered in there. Pretty dead on. Finger on that side, finger on this side. Let's go. Here is my Dakota Digital goodie. So this is all the modules that run all my stuff. This is for my fan, my HDX gauges, and then that BIM down there is to run everything off of my OBD2 instead of having to run sensors individually for all the gauges, etc. So that should be pretty cool. I did make this nice little license plate, custom module mount type thing, whatever you want to call it, module tray. But I thought that came out pretty good for how simple it was. But anyway, hopefully tomorrow we'll be starting this thing up. And I don't have exhaust on it, just headers, so it should sound pretty good. Fingers crossed. Hopefully I got all the wiring done. Never done that before. What do you think, Coop? You think it looks good? Yeah? And so the guys have put in LS's before, so hopefully if I do have something wrong, they can help me kind of troubleshoot it real quick. But I'm getting excited, guys. They should be here in like the next 15 minutes. We're gonna get rocking and rolling on this.
Power here, see if
all right, let's see if we got power. Stace has HP tuner, so he's got the high techness. That even works. I just put that column back in. We might have to. Oh, fuel pump turned on. Well, I guess that works. HDX things are flashing around.
fans work.
Fans turned on. Probably not supposed to be on yet. All right. If you want to turn it off, I'll pull the fuse for it. That'd probably be the best way, right? Hey, Carl, do you want to look at the fuel line just to make sure I'm not leaking it?
Flowing gas. I don't see it.
Okay guys, so we've been fighting the VAT system. Hopefully we got it going. Let's see. Get it in here. We gotta try and go. Definitely got to adjust the linkage. It's not supposed to be going. Cool. I'm glad we jacked it up. You see any fuel leaks or anything?
No leaks.
We have success! Oh yeah! We got Paul and Carl and Stace all here for the moment. Mr. Cooper. Hell yeah! Woo. All right. Testing cuts and all this stuff. Woo. Not happy about that wheel turning, but I guess that means it moved. Heck yeah. All right, let's see if it'll start up for a second time. Put on the brake.
Water, tranny.
got a leak?
Couple.
All right. Oh, let me... So my overall opinion, guys, is if you have the means to do an LS swap and your old small block's tired, go for it. It wasn't that hard. I mean, there was a lot of challenges, but that was just the learning curve. I could do it so much faster now that I know what I'm doing. But again, if I can do it, anybody can. Runs really good. It does get a little wonky after a while just because the O2 sensor is like an inch from the end of the exhaust, just because it's basically straight headers right now. I did have to get a new water pump because the one that I got from the donor was leaking, but again, wasn't a huge deal. One thing I forgot to mention previously, because I sprayed water out, is there is a steam line that goes through right underneath your intake here that kind of balances out the pressure in your cylinder heads or whatever. Normally that would run into the radiator. Again, since I had a radiator for a small block, I ended up just tapping the water pump here and running it into there. They make kits where you can tap your hose, but since mine's a little bent right here, I didn't want to put it up there, so this was just my best option. As long as you get that to recirculate, everything will be a-okay. But yeah, it's looking good. I am really, really happy with it, y'all. So overall, that's going to do it for this episode of Classics Are Better. As always, thank you guys for watching, for supporting me while I LS swap Bandit, my 66 C10. And now that I'm finally done doing wiring and motor stuff, we can get on to some more fun stuff with this truck and some goodies with the Impala and the Camaro. Stay tuned, my friends. More to come. Have a good one.